And especially if you've never set a boundary or you've had bad experiences of like, of course, like when you were younger and first tried and it was met with like confrontation, it's going to feel extreme. Like to say that first no, or be like, actually, I can't show up for that, or I can't take this on, or I can't stay late after work, which again, when you hear it on paper, you witness someone else do it, it might seem really small, but it probably is going to feel really extreme for you as you're kind of moving across that continuum. But again, over time, and even probably a few hours later, you're going to be like, oh, wow, my boss actually was cool with that. And I got the day off. That feels really nice. And it starts to accumulate. And I see that with clients. It really is. And this is where the limiting belief comes in, where we kind of, we give ourselves a no, right? We accept the failure. We shut ourselves down because we're perceiving we know the outcome. And it's that taking that risk that we have to just try, because honestly, more often than not, especially again, now as an adult world, you're going to have a lot of good experiences too, where people will respect your boundaries.
Yeah. And
right?
It's so nice. It's nice. It's nice. And when you experience those relationships, you can never go back. It literally feels so gross in your body to be around other people that like have that energy of like judgment, and they're in their own toxicity and their own like unhealed stuff, and they're like projecting things onto you. Like it suddenly becomes like, I can't even like stand that, because you're surrounded by people who do love and respect who you are and what you need, and show up for you in the way you need. And when you can show yourself that exists, give yourself a chance, like, but because you'll see it does exist. All of a sudden, for me at least, my whole like world changed, and I didn't need those people to validate my life anymore, or to understand me, or to love me for who I am, because I had people who already did that. And I was like, you do you, girl, like, you know, you do you. And you know, best of luck.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a complete paradigm shift, right? Like, you know, in the spiritual community, like I hear like people talk about reality shifting, and going a little off tangent there, but everything changes where it starts to be this dark place. Like you hear people in the very straight face say like, well, people are bad, or people are suck, or people aren't trustworthy. And that's a valid belief when we're thinking about all these past experiences. But when you start to trust yourself, when you start to set boundaries and be confident, you can shift your belief and be like, people are trustworthy because you're more discerning, because you have boundaries that allow you to connect with people where you are safe. And there's healthy attachment. And so you can see how things can really shift, but you have to take that risk, right? Like you have to.
Yeah, and you have to let those people go who aren't going to meet you, and just be okay with that, because that is energetic space that's being taken up from people who could enter your life and take up that space in a more positive, more empowering way.
Absolutely. And so again, that's kind of why it's so important to start surrounding yourself with other people who maybe are there. Again, because it makes sense. It's hard to perceive something that which we don't believe, or if anyone else around us is saying, no, this isn't possible. So start surrounding yourself with people who are embodying or existing from whatever it is you want to move towards. Be mentored by them, do therapy with them, right? And then they can reassure you that like, yes, that's possible. It's possible to wake up and feel like people are loving and trusting. It's possible to have relationships that are loving and trusting. And you're still going to encounter people who are going through their stuff, or you're still going to encounter someone who's triggered, but you're not going to react as intensely. Again, like we were talking about, we know how to soothe ourselves. So maybe they do push back on a boundary, and sometimes maybe it might feel very direct, but we have a much greater capacity as to how we keep ourselves safe and how we respond.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think that was the one thing that when I went back to therapy to kind of deal with the first time I had cut off my father, and kind of dealing with all the guilt and shame about that, was just recognizing that I do have that ability to, say that I need to protect my space, and I need to protect my energy, and that's valid. And it doesn't need an excuse. It doesn't need a because, afterwards, and it doesn't need it doesn't need any kind of preface. It's like, that's just it. Like, you inherently deserve to be safe. You inherently deserve to be in safe spaces around safe people. because that's not the reality of the world necessarily. Even more so, we have to work to create those spaces, but they do exist and you do deserve them. And I encourage you to just put yourself in those spaces or remove yourself from the spaces that aren't. The minute I was like, oh, that's an option, it doesn't have to be a big confrontational battle. Like, listen, you don't have to, the boundary you set can be removing yourself.
Thanks for watching, you guys. If you enjoyed this, click here to check out the full podcast episode. Click here to check out our full library of podcast episodes. And don't forget to hit subscribe so you can be the first to know when we're posting new ones. I'll see you soon.